This is William Lee with A Plus Home Experts. We're talking water meters today and how they can help you avoid a potential large problem with your foundation just by periodically checking your water meter.
Three, two, one.
So initially, let's talk about how water gets to your house. Now we're talking a normal house where the city supplies the water. So the city comes down the street to a meter and then it goes through the meter to your house. So between the meter and the house, that water line runs under the grass, typically through your front yard, goes under the house and comes up somewhere in the center of your house, generally by your water heater. And then it branches out to the other plumbing fixtures within the house. So to your sinks, toilets, bathrooms, everything within the house that needs water. So what's important to understand is once the water passes through that water meter, the meter will move as water flows in the house. So for example, when you turn your sink on and water flows, there's a dial on the meter or controls on the meter that will move, and that indicates water's moving. When you turn the control off, the meter stops. Simple, right? So the important part we want to understand is that if there's a leak somewhere, say there's a leak under your sink and the water's dripping out under your sink, that's an issue that you can see on your water meter. Oreo and I are going to go check the water meter. Come on. Most water meters are located out front by the street. Now they can be located at various locations. At this house, it's out by the street. Once you open the box, find which meter is yours and look at the meter itself. Now sometimes they're digital meters on the newer ones. The older ones may have like analog hands on them, like watch hands. So depending on which meter you have, there's different ways of reading it. So on the digital ones, sometimes there's a couple of screens that it pages through to show you different information. Either way, you're going to get to one point where it shows if there's any water movement. Your numbers will be changing on the digital one, or your hands are going to be moving on the older analog ones. Either way, that would be water moving. So the premise is you want everything off in the house. You go to your water meter, you should not see any movement. But if you do see movement, double check your house. 90% of the time we find it's the toilets that are the culprit in a house, because the toilet can leak really quietly without you noticing it. So most of the time there's water movement. Don't fear the worst. Double check your toilets, go to the water spigots outside, make sure they're off, make sure somebody didn't flush the toilet before you went out there and it's still filling, or your dishwasher's not running. So once you've confirmed everything is off and you go back out there and the water meter is still moving, it might be time to call a plumber to double check what's causing that leak, because you don't want to leak between the meter and the house, and especially if it's under your house. Our concern with the water meter is that as the water comes from the city through the meter, it travels underground and then it goes under the foundation at parts before it comes up into your house. So to do a repair on the water line in the front yard is a fairly easy task. Now once it moves under the house, it's a much more complicated task and can cost a lot more money to do the repair, because you may have to go directly through the foundation to fix the plumbing repair. Now that's only part of it. The other part you have to understand about the foundation is in our region, you have to understand your foundation is like a sponge on the ground, right? And if I could hold that sponge in half and put half of the sponge with water and keep the other half of the sponge dry, well, part of the sponge would expand on the one side and would not expand on the other. And that's what's happening to the soil under the ground. So if there's a plumbing leak under your house, water's getting one side of your house much more moist, or there's a lot more water, and the other side is dry. And that's what causes your house to move. And that could potentially be a very big and costly foundation repair. So by simply checking your water meter periodically, it can help you identify earlier a plumbing problem that you can get repaired before it becomes a big foundation problem also. I hope this video helps. Go check your water meter.